So welcome everybody to a special meeting of the Police and Fire Commission for the City of Fitchburg. It's October 21st, 2021. And I'm calling the meeting to order. So we do have 3 members here for quorum. 2 members may be joining us, but they're out of town right now and they may be zooming in. So first order of business is public appearance for non-agenda items. Do we have any? To the best of your knowledge, Sarah? And not seeing anybody in the hall here, I think that we're safe to say there probably won't be. So next order of business is report from Human Resources.
All right, good evening, Commission. So on July 20th, 2021, I received a written complaint from Ross Williams, who's an employee of Fitzgerald EMS, alleging that Chief Joe Pavlemacher harassed, bullied, and intimidated him, as well as encouraged other Fitchburg Fire Department personnel to target him due to his sexual orientation. HR Specialist Amy Tracy and I met first with Ross on July 30th. We then met with 17 potential witnesses. These 17 people were either mentioned in the written complaint form and or brought up at our first meeting with Williams. Of all of the witnesses we spoke to, we specifically asked if any of them had concerns about harassment and bullying by Chief Pavlemacher toward Williams and or other employees. And the only instances of harassment brought up did not involve Joe, but involved 2 fire interns that had made inappropriate comments to other staff. The city was already aware of and had investigated and given coaching and corrective action. Both of those interns are no longer on the department. Of the witnesses we met with, those also included the staff that had concerns about the 2 interns and acknowledged that the department is positive and harassment-free since their departure. We did not find any supporting evidence to support the claim that Pavlemacher harassed, bullied, and or intimidated Williams at the Festival of Speed on July 10th because of his sexual orientation. Lastly, in Williams' statement, he made reference to a discipline issued to him that was done in retaliation by Chief Pavlemacher and other Fitchburg Fire Department staff. The discipline was issued by Chief Anderson, not by Chief Pavlemacher, and was issued for a violation of Fitzrona's policies regarding a workplace free of harassment and discrimination. Chief Pavlemacher does not supervise Williams, as they are employees of different entities. So HR does recommend continued anti-harassment training. The fire department receives training every other year. They're due in December already, so we're working with CIVMIC to get anti-harassment training on the books for December 7th for their drill. And we are looking at LGBTQ training for Pride Month in June of next year. With that brief summary, I'd like to ask the Commission to go into closed session to confer with legal counsel with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved.
And I think we can go into closed session. I just have one question first, and that is in regards to the training that you're recommending. So you had said that every 2 years that training already exists, and it has happened. And exactly. That is due in that round of training that we normally would have every 2 years is happening in December. And then you're recommending an additional training in June. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yep. So additional training, and actually this is an idea that was brought on by the fire chief, probably about 6 months ago, was training for LGBTQ or on LGBTQ, as those were some of the complaints that had arisen over with those 2 interns that we had on. That's where the inappropriate comments lied. So we would be looking to do that, in partnership with Pride Month. But that was a recommendation by Chief Pavlemacher, like I said, quite a while ago before any of this even came up.
Okay. And then after those 2 trainings, the recommendation or every 2 years would be the same process?
Yeah, every other year, and all new hires that come on. So all new hires that come on, they're supposed to take the anti-harassment when they start. So it's not like we're waiting for another, a certain time there to get them, caught up. But, when new hires start, they should take it, and then every other year. If the commission, suggests every year anti-harassment training, we have the ability, CIVMIC, Cities and Villages, Mutual Insurance provides all of our training. So it's something we could do. It's just, we do it every other year. So.
Can you repeat, who does the training right now?
Yeah, it's called Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance. So they provide all of our trainings, everything from leadership trainings to safety training. So we partner with them just because we don't have the people power internally to provide all those trainings. So they're our risk management company, and that's one of the benefits of utilizing them.
Is it a virtual course? Is it an online course that the employees
Yep,
use?
they're going to be in person. So in December, they're coming to the fire station. Everything was in person before COVID, but they have altered a lot of their programs to be virtual to accommodate during the pandemic.
Can you just send me a link so I can
Yeah,
see what?
of
Thank
course.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. Any other questions before we go into closed session? All right, who would like to take us into closed session?
All right, I got you. Hold on, let me get there. All right. Pursuant to section 19.85 subsection 1 subsection G of the Wisconsin statutes, the commission may move into closed session for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, Ross Williams, complaint against Fire Chief Joe Pulvermacher.
All right, do I have a second to go into closed session?
Second.
Very good. All in favor of going into closed session, raise your hand and say aye. Aye? We need that guy? Aye,
Aye.
very good. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're coming out of closed session, and there is one motion on the floor which I will make. The commission moves to dismiss the charges based on the complaint, not demonstrating enough evidence to raise to the level of suspension, reduction in rank, or termination. And I guess just in plain language for me, just I want everybody to understand this, that the commission has a certain purview that we are statutorily responsible for taken care of. And those pieces at the end, the suspension, reduction in rank, and termination, are just that. And so we didn't feel that the complaint that was brought against the chief of the fire department rose to that level. And so I put that motion out, and I would like to take a vote on that. So all in favor of, actually, do I have a second on the motion?
I second.
Thank you. And all in favor of the motion put forth, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Aye.
So 2-4, and motion passes. I guess when we had the discussion, we talked about, we really encourage the city strongly to make sure that all of our departments are free of harassment, free of bullying. I know that there's additional training come down. We talked about that right before closed session. I think that that's great. But we really encourage you guys through performance evaluations and everything else to make sure that everybody is a top performer and that we are, a bully-free and a harassment-free environment. So. All right. Next order of business is announcements. Any announcements? Oh, actually, we should invite the chief back in. Yes? I'll go grab it.
So see, he would be on escalator. Besides everything I said might be recorded.
All right. And I just told the chief about about the vote we just took. So the next order of business is announcements. So are there any announcements? Sarah, commissioners, chief?
One of the things that I would like to say in regards to all of this is, first of all, I would like to recognize the good work that continues to happen between Fitchburg EMS and Fitchburg Fire. The fact is we have a very good working relationship. The organizations do work very well together. The complaint that you received today and was addressed today is an example of some things that have been directed toward my leadership by a very, 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 very select few on an organization. I'm humbled by this process because of the fact that I pride myself on being able to provide a valuable service to the city of Fitchburg. But this is the third time in my 5 years of being with the Fitchburg Fire Department that things like this have been brought up, complaints. I just want to let you know that it's my intent, and it's very much my priority to run this as a professional department, one that is operating within a growing community that requires us to take a look at how we deliver services. And sometimes those conversations are uncomfortable, and sometimes we have to challenge the status quo, and that has a tendency of bringing up some very personal issues. I take pride in my reputation. It's one thing that my grandfather used to tell me all the time. It's, Joey, if you've got anything, if you don't have anything unless you have your reputation. And I take my reputation very seriously because I've applied myself to be a very good firefighter first, and community servant next. So I do appreciate the work that went into this investigation. I know it was necessary. 18 people were interviewed, including myself. And it is challenging. It is challenging. It took me a while to understand truly what the whole intent behind it was. Within the first year of my employment with the city of Fitchburg, I was asked about my impression of how fire and EMS is delivered. And I made no bones about my intent. And initially, one of the things that came up was a study that was requested by finance and city administration. And I advocated for it. I mean, in order to make decisions in a growing community and a growing department, and one that I had not been a part of, is through data. So I was hoping to be able to get that through a non-biased third party, so I advocated for it, but soon that study became known as Chief Pulvermacher's study. And there are people that took exception to it. There was a very political approach that was taken, and sometimes, and in most situations, the results of that study were contested before the information was actually known. So I guess if there's one thing that I wonder is at what point do I concede that these are just going to continue to happen over the course of my career here in Fitchburg, or when is it going to stop? This was brought up because of the fact that the city of Fitchburg has a process for complaints. We need a process for complaints. You need to be able to hear when people are unhappy, and we need to be able to explain ourselves. I appreciate the process as it stood. It's a 3-month process. It was very long, and it impacted both organizations, both Fitchburg Fire and Fitchrona EMS. I hope your impression of me is not reflected in the content of the complaint. I really am hoping that you have a better impression of the leadership style that I have based on the outcome of the investigation. And with that, I've got a lot more written because this has been it's been emotional. Because of how I pride myself on the service that we provide as a fire department, and me specifically as a fire chief. And to be called into question, it was tough. It was a tough 3 months. So I appreciate the fact that you're not only giving me time to speak, I can appreciate the work that went into the investigation, and I'm hoping that we can move on knowing that the fire department and Fitchrona EMS, two organizations that work very well in this city, are working together to provide a positive outcome, not only through service, but through interaction. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any other announcements? Any other comments? Okay. Do I have a movement to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor of adjournment? Raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we're adjourned.
Thank you.